Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Scott Wyler. And Scott, it is my very, very deep privilege to be able to just have you as part of the podcast today. And what we're going to be doing is just getting straight into a conversation around what juices you. When you wake up in the morning, what is it that fuels you? You do not have to fuel it. And I'm really interested in if that happens to go to places in your life where, oh yeah, there was something that really happened when I was at this age that predisposed this to be my special juice, and that which energized. You have complete freedom to go there, and you have complete freedom not to go there. But what juices you,
Thanks.
Scott Wyler?
Well, thanks, Brady, and a pleasure and a privilege for me to be part of your pod. So happy to be in this conversation. So what juices me? I think it's been fairly consistent, and I will, after I share it, I will connect some dots to what I
Mhm.
think it comes from, or at least what might have set me on this path. But for me, what gets me up in the morning is um, the possibility of creating possibility for other people, if that makes sense. So
Right.
I'm going to work with a client, or I'm going to present to a group, or, from a work setting, it's, oh, I get the chance to maybe create a space where someone else might have some insight.
Yeah.
Um, Without it being a guarantee, just a possibility. Yeah. So that's sort of
So,
my,
oh,
yeah,
there, I just feel like you just opened up an aperture, and on the other side of it is an entire world. Uh,
which is
uh,
why I paused. So we're like, so there's the thought, and then we could explore. Um, I think, but before we start to open the aperture, so that's sort of on a professional level. Personally, I think it's similar.
yeah.
I am finding, at least in this stage of my life, that sort of personally, socially, I am at my best in small groups.
I
So,
see.
like, you can actually have a conversation as
Right.
opposed to, it's a dozen of us out to dinner and you basically have the same 5 minute conversation over and over.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So
So
the
related.
yeah. So is that for you about the quality of the connection? Is it about the depth of the conversation? Is it about the meaning, the purpose of what you're talking about? Uh, why is smaller better for you than 20 people bantering about whatever?
Yeah. Um, it's more about the depth, and the 20 minutes bantering, the 20 people bantering is fun, and then it just becomes monotonous and like there's nothing additive. So it's that sense of, in a smaller group, you can build on thoughts and actually have a conversation, and even share different points of view potentially,
Right.
without it damaging the relationship, but it strengthens the relationship because you can talk about different perspectives.
Yeah.
So it's more that.
I'm guessing that the opportunity for possibility to emerge in a smaller group, not that it's confined to a smaller group, because with the right structure and potentially the right culture, larger groups of people can do hackathons and come up with generative solutions. But for some reason, those smaller groups, maybe possibility is a little bit closer, or it gets invited more easily in smaller groups. Is that fair to say?
Uh, it is fair to say, and sort of in contrast to my first statement, like larger groups, whether it's a workshop, it's a conference, it's a facilitated,
Mm.
structured sort of a thing. The possibility is there. I think the difference is, in a professionally, my role is to create and hold that space,
Yeah.
and in sort of a social interaction, I am both feet in the conversation, and I'm, not so aware of who hasn't chimed in or who has a thought to add. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's messier and it should be, right? And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not premeditated. It's not you're not manufacturing anything.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
don't, I don't have a
oh,
clear goal that I'm working towards, or
yeah,
yeah.
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 When I think about possibility, so your juice, what juices you is the possibility of creating possibility for either a person or groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot there. When I think about possibility, I think about things like openness. I think
Mm-hmm.
about interest and curiosity and awe and wonder. I think about the stories that we tell ourselves about whether things are possible or not, or whether we just stuck in probability.
Yeah.
There's a lot there that I think about as it relates to the possibility of helping create possibility for other people. For you,
Mm-hmm.
where do you go in terms of that, the practice of creating possibility?
Um, Definitely curiosity is in there.
Okay.
Um, Listening without judgment, which I think sort of goes hand in glove with curiosity.
Yes.
At least for me, it does.
Yeah.
Um, so in it's um, a little bit of thinking about what the next question is without committing to the next question, if that makes sense. Like I have an idea of what I might offer to help this person get to what they seem to be working towards.
Right.
It's that sense, um, which is sometimes a fine line. Like
It is.
what I think is the right next question might not actually be the best next question for them.
It feels
Yeah.
to me, Scott, like your presence in the world might be more of a softer focus, a lighter grip, an easier stance, rather than a very prescribed focus and a tight grip and a very solid stance, because you're not forcing this is what I'm hearing. You're not forcing the issue. I am thinking about what the next question might be that might be facilitative, but I don't want to force that. Is forced and unforced a way to look at this or not?
The firm versus light grip, that image really resonates for me. Hearing you say that, and
Yeah.
it makes me think about a couple of things from my own history, actually, that I haven't thought about. But there was a time in my life when I was an avid mountain biker. So that was
Mm.
the first thing that popped into my head: is you can't bear down on the handlebars if you're bombing down a hill, because you have to be able to respond in the moment. So it's
Yeah.
that sort of an image. Um, like I'm on the ride too, if you will,
Yeah. Yeah.
as someone that I'm talking to might be, and so my job is to be on the ride with them and adjust the steering a little bit as needed.
I like that.
But
Yeah.
it's that is what that sparked for me. So yeah, that sort of lighter touch, softer grip image that
That's
resonates. Yeah.
cool. Um, in terms of situations where you've been able to be that person that facilitates possibility or makes possibility possible, I'll bet you've got stories, either
Oh,
from your
sure.
coaching or your consulting, your facilitating, or your personal life, where a surprising, fertile moment showed up that might not otherwise have shown up if you had not been facilitating or at least opening up space for it. Can you share something like that?
Um. So it's both a hard and an easy question. So, because for me, part of the idea is I might not even know,
Right.
like, what insight someone had, or we had an interaction in the room or virtually like this, and then 48 hours later, the light bulb went off for them.
Right.
So I don't always know. Sometimes I'm lucky enough. I guess for me, it's the it is when someone is motivated to actually tell me. That's
Yeah.
ultimately how I know. They grab me at the end of a workshop, or they send me a note after an interaction, and they'll say, "Hey, thanks for that thing."
Yeah.
And I might read it and think, "Wow, I barely remember that moment. I just know that I was fully present with this person when we had the interaction." Sometimes the example is, "Hey, you helped me untangle a challenging knot that I was having in my own life," right?
Yeah.
Um, or sometimes it could be hey, Scott, you really gave me a different lens to look at this situation with that has then given me a whole other avenue to pursue.
Yeah.
Um, so it's that. It's the and it's as I'm reflecting, the times when that seems to happen more
Yeah.
are the times when it was easy, right? Like
Mhm.
someone will tell me they had this transformative experience, and I think back and I'm thinking, well, I was hardly doing anything. You did all the work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's sort of the ideal that I aim for.
Right.
Um, and I'll share sort of another example that your comment earlier about where does this come from. So uh, I my first career chapter, I was a professional actor, primarily doing stuff on stage.
Yeah.
Got a couple movies out there. They're really bad. I hope you can't find them. So, but
They'll be in the show notes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you can rent them in Europe. Like, yeah. um, so, but the 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 reason I bring it up is I've been doing what I do now for a couple decades.
Right.
Um, but I am constantly reminded of the things that compelled me to pursue acting, whatever that thing is. I used to refer to it as the beast. I have to feed the beast. I haven't fed the beast in a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
Um, it's that same part of me gets fed by the work I'm doing. Whatever that beast is, somehow what I do now feeds it. I have no interest in going back to acting at all
Yep.
because the beast is getting fed. Um, but what I've been reflecting on lately is that sense of ease. Things are happening for whoever I'm with that are happening for them. I'm not doing it to them. In hindsight, I'm drawing a straight line to that's how I approached the craft of acting, right? It's like I don't need to tie myself into emotional knots. I
Yeah.
just need to do what's needful so that the audience is having an emotional experience going through whatever they're experiencing in the work, the play.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
It
that
almost,
similar idea that when I was acting and we'd get crazy audience applause and backstage I'll look at each other and go, well, that was just easy and fun.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah.
It feels to me, I don't know anything about acting, but when I see it done well and I see two people acting with each other and there's magic happening, it feels to me like they're one unit. Like there's a
Mm,
profound connection. I am making space around you to be brilliant. And there's zero competition at all. But it is like, how can I play off you in a way that allows you to bring your brilliance to the world? And I could see you doing that as a facilitator. I can see you doing that as a coach. It's just a different modality, right? But it's the
mm-hmm.
same magic that you're doing. Does that feel true?
That is 100% accurate. And that's what I've come to is understanding of, oh, I'm using the same muscles that I built way back when. I'm just using them in a different way.
Yeah.
Or the idea you just say to I'm holding space for you to be brilliant and you're doing the same for me. Right. I
Yes.
remember I think I might have learned this from you years ago. Uh, I'm going to get the language wrong, but I remember having a conversation with you, and you shared this idea that partnership is sort of two people standing for each other's success. I might be butchering the language
Yeah.
there.
No, no, no. Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
that, like, that's what makes that magic. So as a facilitator, as a coach, I'm trying to create that same sense with
Mhm.
an individual client or with a room full of participants or whatever it is of, hey, I want you to be amazing. I want you to come away with things you can actually use to help yourself or the people you work with or whatever it looks like. Yeah.
Beautiful. Three things coming up here: possibility,
Yeah.
and a light touch,
Mm.
and easier. Uh, and I just love the confluence of those three things. And I'm gonna be, I'm gonna disclose something to you that I haven't told a lot of people. So I'm about to turn
Okay.
67, and I love what
All
I
I heard was
do.
60 something, and I'm okay leaving
Yeah,
it there if that's where you want to
yeah,
leave it.
yeah. Let's leave it there. But my mission at this point in my life is to do as little as humanly possible and to have the greatest impact possible.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds
Yeah.
like a very lazy thing, uh, and I actually do love to work hard, but I'm trying to figure out where is it that I have bought into the effort ethos, and thinking that just more focus and more effort and staying later, it actually bars possibility from the room rather
Mm.
than invites it. Can you talk to
Hmm.
which if do you have a version of that?
Um, I think I do. It might not be as well formed as yours, but that sense of, is there a cleaner, quicker, simpler, more effective way to get where I'm going?
Hmm.
Um, uh, actually was facilitating just before this conversation, and an idea that came up in the room was room of leaders was, when you're a busy, overwhelmed leader, you're looking for micro actions with a macro impact. So that's the idea that popped up for me as I just had this conversation a couple hours ago
I love that.
of, like, there's too much to do and conflicting priorities, and my world is nothing but stress and grind. So anything I can do to get me through that noise a little smoother.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, from the outside, it might look like a shortcut or a hack or being lazy. I don't think I wouldn't use that word. It's efficient. It's
Yeah.
supercharged. It's
Yeah.
Jedi level. It's like, pick whatever image you want,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about a Dostoevsky quote, and I won't be able to do it correctly, but it's basically he says, I have seen it. I didn't manufacture it, I didn't make it up, but I have seen it. It's glorious. He said, everything could be organized in 1 hour. It's
Hmm.
love. It's love. And he said the organizing principle that would allow us to assemble all the parts, find the interdependencies, structure things in a way that would work, is love. And so, sometimes there is something, a unifying principle at the very, very foundation that you actually can't distill it any farther. It is at the atomic level. It's indivisible at that point,
Hmm.
and whether it's love or not. But I think finding in a situation what is that thing that could organize everything in 1 hour has to
Huh.
do with possibility, right? And it has to do with the lighter touch, and it has to do with those hacks that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has to do with a coming alongside the sort of the, and kudos, by the way, for just casually dropping Dostoevsky into a conversation. You don't get that every day. But
Right.
um, I believe it or not, I actually have a Dostoevsky acting story. But anyway, but what that's making me think of is, uh, it's love and acceptance and those sorts of things. And
Mm,
I don't know where we're going necessarily, but I know we're going to get there together.
right. Right.
It's that sort of a sense.
Yeah.
Um, Interesting. I hadn't thought about using the word love for that, but that fits absolutely. Like, as you keep narrowing and narrowing and narrowing and narrowing and narrowing down, that's what you get to in some way.
Yeah.
I had a
I haven't.
conversation. Yeah,
Go
I know
ahead.
you're
No,
formulating your next question. Go ahead.
no, I want to hear what you say. Go ahead.
No, I was just, this making me think of a conversation I had just last week with a close friend. And what the conversation was circling around was, in order for my friend to move forward, he needs to forgive himself
Yeah.
for stuff that is years old. Like that, we identified that as being the block. This is why you can't move forward, because you have to forgive the younger you.
Yeah.
And that wasn't working for him. And when he reframed it as, to me, that means I need to love who I was then. Like
Oh,
that was the thing that he identified that flipped the switch. So yeah,
love
that
that.
popped into my head because it does. I was talking about forgiveness, but really what was underneath that was love.
I love that.
Yeah.
I can see that too, because for some people, the view of I need to forgive myself, there is an inference that, of course, I did something wrong, and so
Right. Right.
punishment is due. But I'm going to come along and I'm going to, domtus, vomtus, and whatever, and forgive myself. But saying no, not necessarily. All I need to do is love and embrace and accept my earlier self.
Yeah.
Forgiveness isn't necessary. And it's not that we don't forgive. That's I think we're both clear about that. But I love that
Yeah.
reframing, and in that, Scott, I see your your juice again, and that is I couldn't get past that blockage in my past, and I'm trying this forgiveness thing. It's not working, and just to reframe, you created possibility. You
And again, to be clear, he came up with the reframe.
okay? I see.
All I did was present the idea, it sounds like maybe you need to forgive the younger you. And he sat with it for a bit. And then what came out of his self reflection was, to me, that means I need to love
Interesting.
that person. It's not who I am now, it's who I was then. And
Yeah.
I love that person for doing their
Yeah.
best. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
that sort of an idea.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I think it points to another thing. And you talked a little bit about curiosity and awe and wonder way back when we were talking about possibility. And I think that what you're bringing is not a ton of certainty. You're not saying it's about forgiveness. Is it possible you need to forgive? But
Right.
it's not like a big exclamation mark or even a period there. You're creating an opening, and then he can go, no, I'll play with forgiveness. But because you weren't so prescriptive about it, I can easily go to, no, it's actually this, it's love instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Second
that's the
question.
moment. Like, that's my juice, is
That's
when those moments happen, right? That's the thing that makes me go, yeah,
That's it.
that's what I'm here
And
for.
I don't know if I even need to ask the second question, which is what's your juice for the world? Because it sounds like, but tell me if I'm wrong, that that which juices you is also your juice for the world. That when people experience you at your very best, you're a possibility inviter, you're a possibility creator, or at least co-creator. Is that true?
I hope so. And there's a part of me that is uncomfortable wearing that as a cloak. Like,
I
there's
see.
something about the way you framed it, because I think it's right, but there's something in me that is resisting that, as though it's
Mhm.
arrogant or something. And I don't
I
think that's
see.
how you mean it,
No.
but that's how it's landing for some reason.
Okay.
But
So
I
it
do
is,
like it as an answer to what's my juice for the world, is I am someone who creates possibility for others, or
yeah.
allows others to identify their own possibility, or yeah.
So the
Mm.
arrogance in it, um, is it Scott swoops in on his charger and magically makes possibility appear, and that is just so 180 to who you are and how you roll in the world. Uh, but
Maybe
there's
it's
something
that.
that,
Yeah.
what's that?
Yeah, that feels right. Like that what I'm trying to peel away from that is the sense that, here I am to save the day. I have your answer presented on a silver platter, right? That's not how I operate. Yeah. So maybe
Is it possible, Scott? And now here I'm stumbling around and the
no,
reframing
no, no.
world.
We're
But is
we're
it
getting
possible
curious
that
together.
your your preferred contribution in the world leans towards possibility? It's not that you are the solution provider, that you are the magic creator, or anything like that. It
Yeah.
is, if I have a contribution to bring that would just that I feel would really light people up and help them move forward, it's in the realm of possibility, which is very different than no, it's about planning, or no, it's
Hmm.
about inspiration or building hope in people. It's like no, no, mine is possibility. That's my preferred contribution. Is preferred contribution any better language for you at all?
It is. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Mhm.
Yeah. That and it for me it requires a strong word, but it does need the other person to participate
Yeah,
in some way. Um, like I can create a space and ask insightful questions and things, but I can't do it for you.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's why that idea of possibility it resonates as the juice I add. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, you're not a, I'm going to do it for you. I'm not going to do it to you. You're going to do it with. The with
with is the word.
really feels
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, Scott, I'm not going to put a timestamp on this, but we do live in a world where we experience a lot of fragmentation, a lot of
Hmm.
disintegration. We are divided along the lines of sexuality and gender and age, around politics, around religion, and it just goes on and on and on.
Hmm.
And and we have difficult times. We have exciting times as well, where I feel like some of the greatest possibilities and some of the greatest innovations are about to be spawned and hatched. And I'm really excited about that. Uh, I'm going to ask you, what is your wish for the world?
More acceptance. It just listening to understand rather than to convince. It's listening for um, the stuff that someone really cares about, as opposed to like given the world we're in and the way you described it, right? Hand in glove with all of that is shorter attention spans and not and everything is surface level, everything is clickbait, and nobody, you read a headline, you didn't actually learn about something, right?
Right.
And so it's that sense of my wish for the world is that people would listen to what's underneath more, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we have today a Canadian and American having a rich, rich conversation.
There you
Uh,
go.
yeah, that feels steeped in possibility,
Hmm.
and I I really think that our listeners are going to be experiencing a beautiful residue walking away from this. And if you were to just give people, Scott, who say, I really want to facilitate possibility for other people. You've already pointed to several things, but if you were to give the practically minded listener at this point one thing to begin to practice, what might you give them if they were in pursuit of a life of possibility for themselves and
Mm.
others?
Um, yeah, be intentional. whatever situation, whatever conversation you find you're in, don't operate on autopilot.
Yeah.
Like, don't just use your default answers or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
really be there. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Mr. Wyler, I think we're going to put a pin in it right there.
Okay.
And
Excellent.
thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I just enjoyed it so much. And
As did I. Thank you
yeah,
again for having me. It's been a
you're
pleasure.
so welcome. And all the best to you.
Thanks. You as well.